So the second class of attack I'll talk about here is called phishing, and it's spelled with a PH, phishing. And the idea here with phishing is that you are the fish. So the bad guy is putting out this bait and trying to trick you into revealing, most commonly, your password or something that the bad guy wants. So no doubt you've received many emails that claim to be from eBay or PayPal, right? Again, anything to do with money, where really those are phishing attempts, where it's trying to trick you into giving up your password. The email might say something provocative to try and get you to click. It might say, fraud emergency, click now, or whatever, something to try and get you to react in the moment. So I'll scroll down here and show you. This is an example of a phishing email I got. And I guess the thing about phishing emails is they look realistic. So this is a forgery of an email that claims to be from eBay, so they can get the art, the logo and the text and all that kind of stuff. It's very easy for them to copy it, so it looks, it's not always done perfectly, but it might look really correct. And the trick here is really the links. So if you look at, there's a link here and a link here, there's all sorts of links in this thing. And if I click any of those, this is just a picture of the email, but if I were to click one of those, the trick is it does not lead to a page that's actually an eBay page. It leads to a fake eBay page, a phishing page that will then prompt me for a username and password. And the idea is that fake phishing page, the bad guy is using that just to get my password from me. So it's a forgery. They put up a forgery of a phishing site that looks like eBay and try and trick me to typing my password into it. So if you want to sort of isolate down to just the case, think about when you're typing in your password, you want to look and be like, wait, who am I typing that to? That's the case you want to think about. I should point out, and this sort of fits with what I was saying about bulk, notice the to member at eBay, like they haven't bothered to use my right name or my right email address. I mean, it looks wrong in many ways. It's just the most mindless thing, and they're just bulk sending out millions of copies. Because of course, it's tough because eBay does in fact send email to its users, and so if you're receiving email, it puts you in this tough spot where you're trying to distinguish the good ones from the bad ones. Now in this case, it's an email. There's a very similar idea of just a website. That's maybe it's just the phishing website, and then the bad guy might just try and send the URLs to that website and put them in blogs or whatever, and just the same sort of idea, trying to get people to go to the bad site. So I'll talk about how to avoid this problem in a second. There is a funny analogy to this idea of a phishing site, which is a crime. Which I guess it's happened more commonly, but I'd first read about it, where some criminals, they went to a bank. It was a long weekend, and so they got some plywood and some screens and keyboards or whatever, and they put up a fake ATM machine outside of a bank, and they put a sign on it that said, pardon our dust, under construction. And so then what would happen is people would come up to it. They'd think it was a real ATM machine. They'd put their card in. It would say, type in your PIN. They would type in their PIN. And then it would wait a second. It would say, network down. Try again later. Now, really what was happening is the machine was just recording their card details and their PIN number. Right? Exactly like a phishing site, right? It tricked them into putting in their PIN number, and then the criminals went and tried to drain the accounts. And since it was a long weekend, they had a few days to try and get money out before Monday people came back to the bank and realized what was going on. So I did a little Google search preparing for this. Apparently this actually goes on to this day, where people set up little fake ATMs at different places. Just it's the same crime. So it's just interesting that that's sort of the real world analogy to the phishing emails or the phishing sites. All right, so how do you avoid this? So the first thing is, if you receive an email or you're looking at a blog post or something where it's sort of content really could be from anybody, you want to be suspicious of URLs in there. And in particular, if you ever get to a point where it's prompting you for a password, you want to think about, well, wait, what page is that? Is that really eBay? Sometimes the URLs they come up with, it might be www.ebay.badguy.ru. So if you sort of look at the URL from left to right, it looks like eBay. It's only if you really look at the entire thing you can say, hey, wait a minute, that's not eBay. So scrutinizing the URL is one possible thing to do. And actually, I'll give you an example of that. So here in this other tab, so I just went to the Schwab site because I have an account there. So when I say look at the URL, what I mean is look up here, right? I see the page down here and it's asking me for whatever, but if I want to know, well, wait, who's asking me? Then you could look up here. It's also the case that because financial sites are just attacked so regularly, the browsers and the sites themselves have come up with some extra stuff where it knows Firefox is putting this little green marking here saying, hey, here's really the corporate name of that, and here's the country. So it gives me a little bit more visual cue, like, oh, who am I talking to here? Now it's tough because, like the bad guys, they just need this to succeed 1% of the time. And of course, anyone could try to pay attention, but it's hard every time to always be paying attention. So if you remember nothing else, I'd say whenever you're asked to type in a password, always pause and be like, wait a minute, who am I typing this to? So another thing you can do, which is even simpler, is if you ever get an email or something that says, oh, you need to log into eBay right now and fix something, you could just go to the browser and just don't click on the link. Just go to the browser and just type in www.ebay.com. And that way you're not subject to the bad guys trying to like sort of trick you to click over to the wrong URL, right? You just typed in eBay, it's going to go to the right one. So that's what I tell my parents to do, actually, because it's a very simple rule to follow if you're unsure. Alrighty. So as I'll scroll down in a second, the other thing I'm going to talk about here is normally at the very left of the URL it says HTTP, but there's a variant HTTPS, the secure one. And so usually if the information is sensitive in some way, it's going to use HTTPS, and then you'll see these green things. I'll talk about that in a second. Alrighty, so actually that's our next topic here. So HTTPS adds some some security features that are attractive for a site like Schwab.com. And actually it does two things. The secure variant, HTTPS, verifies that it really is Schwab.com or whatever on the other end. And there's some technical measures it can make there where Schwab has to file a certificate and do some other paperwork so that that can be verified for HTTPS. So that's good. So that helps with anti-phishing. The other thing that HTTPS does is it encrypts. And so the packets that are going to be sent from my browser over to Schwab.com and back and forth, whatever, both ways, HTTPS provides encryption. So I don't think I've talked about encryption up to now, but what encryption does is it scrambles the data. And so at one end, I'm in my browser, it's going to scramble the data and then put it on the wire. And the result is if a bad guy intercepts the data, it's just going to look like gibberish to them. They can't read it and they can't forge, put stuff into the conversation. And likewise for the packets coming back with my data. So you may remember from the networking section, I talked about how on Ethernet or for Wi-Fi, when my computer broadcasts a packet, it's broadcast, right? Everybody around me can just see it. And so a natural question would be, so if I'm on my browser, if I'm on my computer and I'm going to type in my password to Schwab.com, is that password just going to be visible to everybody within 50 feet of me? If they were listening, could they just see it? And so I did this as an experiment actually. So what I did, here's a picture of it. So I went to Starbucks. And I just logged into their free Wi-Fi. Right, so I just got my coffee here. I'm sitting, and there's must have been at least 50 other people around there, and like 48 of them had laptops. And I'm sure probably multiple of those laptops had some kind of malware that had broken into the laptop and was like messing around. And the bad guys famously are very interested in financial sites. So they might have been kind of sniffing around for trying to detect someone logging into Schwab.com or something. So I went to Starbucks, I did this, and I typed in my password, I hit return, and that was fine. That didn't cause any problems. The reason is HTTPS. That if you look at the Schwab page, well, you can't, it's too small here, but when I went to the Schwab page, it was an HTTPS connection, and so that meant that when on my computer here, when I typed in my password and hit return, it was being encrypted, and then the packet was being sent out. So even though all the people around me, if they wanted to, their computers could have been intercepting packets that I was sending, and they could look at them, but because they were encrypted, it would have just looked like gibberish. They couldn't have seen what my password was. So in fact, whatever, I did this, and it's always hard to know that you haven't been hacked, but yeah, my account still has money in it. Whatever, technically, yes, that's a fine thing to do. So anyway, that just sort of demonstrates what does encryption mean? Why? How would that help you? The other thing I should point out is if my laptop had malware on it, like somehow earlier my machine had been compromised and the bad guy had control of my machine, then HTTPS would not have helped. right? So malware on your if it gets on your machine, it could observe what you're typing and keep logs and send information stuff or whatever. You really just need to wipe the machine at that point. But in terms of putting packets out there, HTTPS is a good solution. All right, so that was the second class of attacks.